Well, it is Thursday, so it's time for some high school fantasy football here on MaxPreps.com. I'm Zack, Poff, and the man to my left, the one and only Chris Stonebraker. You might not have got the win last week in the first week of the playoffs, but you are winning people's hearts with that beautiful mustache.
I hope I'm saving men's prostates everywhere as well.
Oh, you definitely are. And last week, my team put up 201 points. You were only lost by about 70-something, 127.
Gosh. I'm telling you right now, you won week 1. Now, if you win week 2,
it's a wrap.
Yeah, that means that you've won 2 of 3, and basically
mathematically
you are the
eliminated
champion of the 2014 high school fantasy football inaugural season. So congratulations on that. But I'm hoping to win in week 2 and make week 3 meaningful, and hopefully, the regular season doesn't matter. You might have won that. If I can take home the playoffs, I am, in the end, the world champion.
Bragging rights right there. Hey, before we do get to week 2 of our playoff lineup, so let's take a look back at our week 1 playoff lineups. I'll go ahead and do the honors with 201 points on the board. A lot of that had to do with Sarah's stud junior quarterback, Khalil Tate. Threw for over 400 yards, rushed for another 150 plus, also had 8 total touchdowns, racked me up 65 fantasy points in a 68-64 shootout loss to Corona Centennial in the first round of the Southern Section Pac-5 playoffs. And Stoney, I'm not trying to brag or anything. Actually, I kind of am. I told you last week on the show, both these teams were going to put up 50 points apiece on the scoreboard. Khalil Tate and Sarah did that along with J.J. Taylor and Corona Centennial.
If you keep putting up bold predictions, finally one's going to come true. So congratulations.
And before we check out some of your studs from last week, I got to dish out some love. I know our guy Steve Montoya will love this. To my defense last week, Booker T. Washington, 70-0 win against Somerset Academy in the first round of the 4A state playoffs. They got me 54 fantasy points, 3 defensive touchdowns, and my boy Shaq Green took a punt back to the house. And the Tornadoes currently chilling at the number 4 spot on our excellent 25 rankings, presented by the Army National Guard. And they take on Glade Central on Friday night as they try to win their 38th consecutive game. And if they keep making hits like that and forcing fumbles like that, they're going to have a good chance to get that 37th in a row. Stoney.
Yeah, your defense outscored my highest person on my team.
The 54 points for defense. I know a lot of people play NFL fantasy football. That's crazy. I mean, you get a 20 spot, you're very happy
and
about that.
And another thing, you scored 201 points. And people, please remember that that's 5 players.
Yeah.
That's not, 2 running backs, 3 receivers. That's 5 total players, 201 points, 54 coming from your defense. So
I had a lot of PT peers.
Congratulations,
last
bud.
week.
Congratulations.
Stoney,
live it up for this upcoming week.
You had 127 last week.
I did, and you know what?
Who were some guys that killed it for you?
My quarterback, Miles Brennan. He is a person and a player that I need to mention from St. Stanislaus in Mississippi, and he led the Rockachas to a 55-34 victory by throwing for 345 yards and 6 TDs. I saw that, and I thought I had at least a chance before I saw your quarterback go off, Austin Kofensis style. No interceptions helped a lot as he ended up getting me 49 fantasy points. He has now thrown for 4,600 yards, 51 TDs on the season.
Not bad for a sophomore.
Not bad for a sophomore. Now, the other PT peer might not have had a huge week, but this year is second to none in the state of Virginia. Wide receiver Nick Matthews from Patriot High caught 10 passes for 132 yards and a touchdown in a 48-21 playoff win over Yorktown on Friday. Matthews has 99 receptions on the year, which breaks the previous mark of 97 set by Brad Wooten of Eastern Montgomery in 14 games in 2010. Matthews has played only 11 games thus far. Matthews is also close to the single season records for receiving yardage and touchdowns with 1,548 yards on the season. Matthews only needs 323 to tie the record.
And Stoney, you ready for the week 2 playoff lineup? This is a win or go home for you right here. So I'll go ahead and start, though. I put up 201 on the board. I'm rolling with the sophomore quarterback, Chris Robison, going all Texas QB running back, Chris Warren. We'll touch on those 2 guys in a sec. I'm going with Corona Centennial's Javon McKinnley. This kid had a big-time game last week, 14 receptions, over 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's had at least 100 yards in 9 of 11 games this year and 19 total TDs. you got to go Folsom offense somehow. Jake Brown is thrown for nearly 4,000 yards this year, and Josiah Deguara has most of those receptions, leads the team with 80 grabs, second on the team with 1,160 yards, also has 20 TDs. And I'm going with Bingham's defense. They're playing in the state championship game this weekend in the 5A region against American Fork, and this defense is really, really good. They're number 16 team on our XN25 rankings presented by the Army National Guard. But let's go ahead and check out my QB real quick. I'm going with the sophomore sensation, Mesquite Horns, Chris Robison. This dude's been beasting this year. He's thrown for 3,000 plus yards, 36 touchdowns to go along with another 3 scores on the ground. And over the last 5 weeks, he's been playing lights out, averaging 325 yards a game to go along with a nice 19-2 touchdown to interception ratio. Currently on 24/7 Sports, the sophomore sensation is rated as the 6th best pro-style QB, and he's also the 10th best player in the state among the 2017 class. Now, looking at my running back, sticking with Texas, I know guys like Kyler Murray, who you're going to bring up in a sec, Jamabo and DeMarcus Lodge get a lot of the spotlight, so I wanted to spotlight the most underrated player in the state, in my opinion, and that is Rockwall's 4-star running back, Chris Ward. This kid is an absolute beast, currently the top leading rusher in the Dallas area with 2,257 yards on the ground, and his 33 rushing touchdowns only trail Jamabo for most in the Metroplex. And check this out, Stoney. Over his last 3 games, Warren has 849 yards and 12 touchdowns, averaging nearly 10 yards a pop and nearly 300 yards a game. I got a feeling Warren is going to put up some big-time numbers against Dallas Jesuits Saturday afternoon in the second round of the 6A Division II UIL Texas State Playoffs. Stoney, who you rolling with this week, baby?
I have to stop the losing streak, and I think I have the team to do it. Taking a look at my team, and you'll see wide receiver Joseph De La Cruz from Farmersville, California, who put up 41 points for you 2 weeks ago and has 23 TDs and 1,643 yards on the season. That is good for 13th in the country with only 9 games accounted for.
Wow.
So he can move up real fast, real quick.
Real quick.
Yes. And my wide receiver, Jared Reagan of Booker, Texas, has 10 games with stats and has 1,727 yards on the year and 17 TDs. He is the 4th rated or 4th on the list of the national receiving yards leaderboards. And then my defense. Now, I went with Byrd in Louisiana. They are 12-0 on the year with 7 games allowing 8 or fewer points. They play 7-5.
Sneaky pick right here.
It's
I like
a
that
sneaky pick because A, it's early in the playoffs. They're 12-0. They're going against 7-5 East Ascension. I'm hoping that they can hold them to a very low score and get a lot of turnovers. Now, Kyler Murray, you mentioned it earlier.
It's my
you
guy
know what?
right here.
You used him early in the season. I finally held off and I had to use him late in the year, especially in a game that's going to be, I think, a shootout. So the reigning 2013 MaxPreps National Player of the Year. In his final season before heading to Texas A&M, Murray has operated with deadly precision, helping the Eagles post an average of nearly 52 points per game. Week 2, Kyler got Zack 52 points. Allen plays DeSoto in what looks to be a high-scoring affair, which will in turn be great for my fantasy
I can't wait
team.
for that game.
I can't. And my running back, Reggie Gallaspy, Southern Guilford in North Carolina, is the 6th on the national leaderboard for rushing yards, 42 TDs and 2,724 yards on the ground. The 6', 215-pound senior does not shy away from contact and is an NC State commit. The Storm are 12-0 and play 9-5 Rocky Mount in the second round of the 3A playoffs.
How about that truck stick that your running back dished out on that first run of these highlights? That kid runs the rock angry. I like both our running backs this week. I think they're both going to put up some big-time numbers.
And they've already put up big-time numbers this year, so they're just adding on to a stellar season, and that's what all these guys are. And we're in the playoffs now, and we're getting the cream of the crop. And you know what? The games are going to be even tougher, though.
Wait.
So it's like they might not put up the numbers that they were earlier in the season, but if they do shine at this level in the year, all hats off to them because that's impressive. So,
well, thanks for checking us out here on week 2 of the playoffs for the High School Fantasy Football Show. Don't forget, tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific time, Friday Night Live on MaxPreps.com with Steve Montoya along with Chris Stonebraker. And for Chris Stonebraker, I'm Zack Poff here on MaxPreps.com, America's source for high school sports.